who's as adamant about his or her position as I am about mine, whom you think is sharp. Seriously, we know that. And another thing, we heard him say that... Hey sports fans, Larry Older here. Welcome to another edition of And Another Thing. This is edition number 90, believe it or not.
Yeah!
If you want to become an Eldorado, go to LarryOlder.com, fill out the form. You will get a copy of Michael and Me. Michael and Me is my documentary. It's a feature-length documentary on the Second Amendment. We explore the history of the Second Amendment, how dictators like Mao and Stalin have used gun control to disarm a populace that they later on took over. And I confronted Michael Moore. He was at a book signing here in Santa Monica, California, and I asked him 3 times, Mr. Moore, we know how many times Americans use guns to kill people. How many times do Americans use guns to defend themselves? I asked him that question 3 times, and 3 times he, well, get the DVD and you'll find out yourself. Go to LarryOlder.com, fill out the form. Now for episode number 90 of And Another Thing. Ferguson continues to bother me. As you know, a young black man, 18 years old, was killed by an officer named Darren Wilson in Ferguson. And there are some circumstances that make the family and other people in the area feel that the police are covering up things and that the officer basically murdered, executed, assassinated, choose your word, to Michael Brown. Now, the problem is this. This is a slam dunk reasonable doubt case if I've ever seen one. Here is the version given by Dorian Johnson, the man who was with Michael Brown when Michael Brown was shot. Michael and he were walking down the middle of the street, minding their own business. An officer yelled at him, instigated something, and there was an incident where Michael Brown ran away from the officer. The officer ordered him to freeze. Michael Brown held up his hands, froze, and Officer Darren Wilson shot him, killed him. Another witness says that the man, Michael Brown, had his hand up. So there are 2 witnesses that give this version of the hand being up, although the second witness was not nearly as specific as was Dorian Johnson, Michael Brown's friend. Now the problem is reportedly, and I keep saying reportedly because we just don't know. We haven't heard from the officer. We haven't heard from the official autopsy. We haven't heard from ballistics. We haven't heard very much of anything. All we know is that reportedly there are at least 2 witnesses that will confirm Officer Darren Wilson's version of the events, and I even hesitate to say his version of the events. We don't know. But there is a woman who claims to be a friend of Darren Wilson who claims that Wilson told her the following. I saw 2 people walking down the middle of the street. That sparked my interest. I said something. I was asked this week by a caller named Cassie, Larry, you're so hard on black people. I've been listening to you now for about a year because I asked her. And she said, you've never said anything positive about a black person. I said, Cassie, I'm going to answer your question, but first it's an insulting one, and you should know that, for 2 reasons. The first is I've had a number of black people on the show in the last year who are friends of mine, and apparently you were out of town that day. The second thing is this. I'm black. I criticize liberals. 95% of black people are liberal. As a result, when a black person is in the news for something political, generally speaking, it's going to be something I'm going to criticize. Has anybody ever called Rush Limbaugh and said, Rush, why are you so hard on white people? He criticizes the same white people that I criticize. Hillary, Bill, Harry Reid, Michael Moore, Bill Maher, Chris Matthews. Go down the list. I've been listening to his show on and off for a long time. I've never heard anybody call his show and say, Rush, you're a white man. Why are you so hard on white people? But I get a caller calling me up and saying, Larry, you're black. Why are you so hard on black people? Unbelievable. And then I told her, I hope you enjoyed this small excerpt. If you want to see the full video, got to be in Eldorado. Go to my website, LarryOlder.com, log in, fill out the form. It'll cost you about $4.75 a month, or about the price of a mocha frappuccino latte at your favorite coffee house. As you can tell, I don't like coffee. I'm a tea drinker. See you next time.